Hey guys, Jonah here and I'm back with a beer review. And this is a Friday night beer. It's a kind of one-off because you're not going to session this beer. But I love this style. Some of you might find that hard to believe because I quite like the English style beers. But this is one of the exceptions, this style. We're going to be having a look at the Bacchus cherry beer, or KriekBier, as we should say. The packaging comes in this sort of wrapped in paper, which I think is really cool. The ABV is 5.8, so it's a reasonably strong beer. And it's yet another size of the smaller sizes. It's 37.5 centilitres, or 375 in mils. And it tells you a little bit about the brewery, what's in the beer, that kind of stuff. Little thing on the side saying 15% cherries. Fantastic. And because it's a Kriek, it's going to be what they call a sour beer. Now, I'm lucky enough to have tried the absolute perfection, which many people agree, by a Belgian producer, which this is, called Cantillon. And I wax lyrical about how unbelievably amazing that was. And I actually had it on draft. And I have tried it in the bottle, and the bottle wasn't as good as the draft. So what are we left with? Not much. So that is the label. The packaging I've just kind of destroyed and is covered in little cherries, which I think is quite fantastic. And that's it. So this could well be a homebrew. It looks a bit like a homebrew. Even the label, you know, the cap's a red cap because it's cherry, cherries, however you want to say it. Let's get this bad boy open. Not too much of a hiss, but I have chilled this one down. Not least because I was slightly worried about explosions, but also because I really like a chilled beer, and to get the flavour, I know sometimes you have to warm it up. Not with this style, guaranteed. So, pouring, very kind of pinky, like a bit of a rosé. I'm using a traditional pint pot. Let's see how active it is. No, there's not too much sort of stuff left in the bottle. We have gone ahead. Wow, look at that. Lovely, lovely gas there. Colour looks reasonably black on the screen, but I can tell you that's a deep red colour. There we go. I'll turn it that way. Deep red colour. And it's getting on for a good finger's head. Look at those bubbles. Lovely, lovely white bubbles. And the carbonation is fantastic. Can you imagine if you put this into a nucleated glass? My God, you'd be in trouble. And as we all well know, the Belgian styles in Belgium each have their own glass. So I'm sure there's a glass that goes with this particular beer. Unfortunately, I haven't got that one. Let's get in here. Ooh, getting the cherries, getting a tiny bit of kind of sweetness, maybe a slight vanilla-y kind of thing, but it's mainly cherries. Of course, 15% cherries go into this beer, and I believe, from what I hear, they make the beer first, and because it's a lambic style, it's just an open top fermenter, and then they pour onto cherries, and then they leave it open topped once again. So theoretically, this beer starts life as just a normal, regular Cantillon beer. I could have, if I was amazing, I could have looked up as to what beer that was, and then it's poured over the cherries in a huge kind of Solero kind of vat thing for it to mature. Oh, lovely, lovely stuff. Right, let's get in there. Mouthfeel, you get a sweetness up front. When I was drinking, I was getting a little bit of the sourness of the cherries, but now I'm getting a little bit of a sweetness, tiny bit of kind of tannin there. Maybe a silkiness of the malts used. I'm not 100% sure on the malt or the hops in this, if it has that much hop at all. It does have a little bit of bitterness in the back end, so there's probably bittering hops, but I would be very, very surprised if they put anything in their late edition, or well, they're not going to dry hop at all, are they? Because they're cherry hopping. That colour is very, very nice. It doesn't have the unbelievable sourness that some of the really heavy lambics have. This is more about it's all about the cherries, getting that flavour. It's a lovely balanced beer as well. And getting on for that alcohol, getting on for 6%, it hides it quite well. You can taste a little bit of maybe heat in there, but not too much. The cherry flavour just coats the back of your throat, your mouth. I'm getting a little bit of sweetness on my lips, which usually I don't like in a beer. However, this is well known as a fruit beer, so why not? So long as it's coming from the cherries and they're not putting artificial sugars, or dare I say artificial sweeteners, which I don't think they're doing. But you never know. This one is a reasonably mass marketed beer in the UK, at least under that level. Bacchus, who, as we all know, is the god of wine, the god of alcohol, the god of merriment, often depicted in pictures with fruit in his hair, usually grapes, but why not cherries, reclining with some nymphs feeding him food and drink. Cheers, Bacchus. I think this is a very, very good beer. I feel like reciting poetry or coming up with some philosophical debate, but alas, my glass is almost empty. Lacing, tiny bit of lacing if you fancy such matters. I'm going to go off and lock myself in a darkened room, and I might even write some poetry about this beer. Guys, it's been Unclejona. There's been another review checked off on the list. Make sure you click like and subscribe down below if you want to see some more of my beer reviews and videos and general nonsense. And I'll see you real soon for more beer. Cheers and beers. Oh, beautiful sour cherries. Oh, life is good.